Thank you very much, Klaus, for the nice introduction. And honestly, I need to go back and check on my old photos. And I've really been living in so many places in the meantime. But yeah, a few of them were only 6 to 9 months. But the last one, and you mentioned it, Shanghai, was indeed 9.5 years. And it wasn't only the 45th floor, it was I think the 112th floor of one of those skyscrapers that they set up on the front. And then you can overlook Shanghai. And Shanghai is also not the place where we set up the factories in China. So factories in China usually tend to be somewhere in the rural countryside area. And we were so lucky that as I've always been involved in production, automotive production, the sites that I had to either work for or be set up were in places like Bangkok and Shanghai and not somewhere in the outskirts. So that's Colombia and Glasgow that we want to end up with Scout. It's also not the outskirts. It's right next to the I-77. And I think in Colombia, I wouldn't say that, but in Charlotte, I'm allowed to say Colombia is 2 hours from the beaches, it's 3.5 hours from the mountains, it's only 1.5 hours to Charlotte, so it's a super location, actually. And Tracy did a good job in trying to convince us to come to Charlotte to the headquarters. Yeah, we're shortening it down, and narrowed it down to 2, and Charlotte's still on the list. I'm the last on the next position because I'm going to stay with my family, Mary and my son in Colombia. That's where the factory is, and that's where you usually have to be as a production line. So that's that. Let's jump into what we call teleporting an American auto icon into the future. That sounds like Star Wars, which it in the end also is. And why? Because we need it later. Let me start with the backup slide that I usually have to set the stage a little bit for what has Scout been, where does Scout come from. And obviously after the good conversations that I had, that's not really necessary here because most of you know the brand, some of you, a lot of you actually I think have reservations in already. And that brand has been around 65 years ago. It was produced in Fort Wayne in Indiana. That was the old Scout site, International Harvester Factory. The Scouts have always been pioneering. They really set the stage for SUVs in the American market. And that said, they were versatile, and as that line says, joyful, the whole family chimed in on the weekend, and during the week, the Scouts were working somewhere out in the fields. So it literally was, like our CEO usually says, 8 days a week truck. So the 8 days a week truck is somehow vanished. It's not in the market anymore since 1981, the last car rolled off the line. And that said, we had literally what we found, a car that looked like this, an old Scout, somewhere out in the barn, being well known, recognized. And if you now, that is why I said teleporting into the future, think of what you've learned, what happens usually during those Star Trek and Enterprise series, that thing is a little bit misplaced in these days. So our big challenge was to make the old Scouts come to life in a way that fits. And we think really fitting is that design, I will speak to that later, but it's not only the design, but it's to set up that old company in a new way. In a new way means you need to rethink the whole approach, so it's not literally production only. We're not part of the old international network anymore. We are challenged with basically setting up a whole new company. We were also lucky, and Klaus mentioned it, that the Volkswagen Group, when merging with the Charton truck business and International, never realized, or only later realized, that in one of the drawers there was a contract that said the rights to the old Scout brand belonged to International, that said belonged to Volkswagen International. So in 2021, the brand rights moved to the Volkswagen Group. And this Volkswagen not being very successful in there, when the Volkswagen Group got the rights to this contract, they literally figured out that doing something for the American market and increasing the market share in this region of the world would need an American brand. And not only an American brand, but also an American approach. So the new Scout is literally consisting of 3 main parts. One thing is the intelligence and all processes that go into the new factory, in the new company,
The next thing is the design and the capabilities that the products, the trucks, obviously need to be successful in the market. And the third thing, and I think that's what also brought us to the region, and maybe the most interesting thing for people here in North Carolina is they need a new home. They need a site where they are produced, and a site means huge investment. So that's when we ended up in South Carolina. So three major things that I'd like to elaborate a little bit on. The intelligence part and the process part is these days mainly supported by computing technology. We call it AI. In any kind of fashion, it supports us throughout the whole process chain in our company. It starts with the development of the products. This tiny little video just shows you what happens to air when it flows around the car. And it's the sheer computing power that cannot or could not be imagined a few years ago. One of the examples is crash tests. We all have to do that, and we're very happily doing it to keep passengers safe in those cars. A company like Volkswagen has crashed thousands of cars, has gained information and experience of crashing those thousands of cars, spent a lot of money on it, and still it's only thousands of cars. With AI, you get access to all crash tests that are out there that have been done and that have been successful, actually. So we try to tap into those data sets and make the best out of it. That ends up in a new product. Once the product's designed, we want to set up a factory. That's what we did. That's what I did a few times already in my life. Very lucky. Lucky to do that a few times. I was told once in a lifetime chance, and I did the first time. It's now fifth time in a lifetime. So let's see when and where that whole thing ends up. But that said, Blythewood factory has been planned together with resources of the Volkswagen Group for literally 5 years, 3 to 4 years. We're still in the process, planning the tiny little outskirts, but the factory existed already before we had our groundbreaking. Factory existed in the data, factory existed in CAE data, and it was actually moving virtual cars through the lines. So that's maybe also a difference compared to a few other startups that have not failed but have not been too successful. We are backed by a huge company with lots of experience. Once the cars are produced, and I'm just indicating roughly 80% will go out with a train. We're going to get a train connection thanks to SCVOT that helps us a lot. And we're going to figure out how, when, where to send the cars. The biggest churn in the automotive industry is still from the factory to the customer. So usually the wrong car ends up in the wrong state, in the wrong dealership, in the wrong place, or, as I said, the customer is not in the right place. So if you get that right, you better know what your customers want, where your customers are, what your customers are willing to pay. You can match with whatever you do in the factory, which is a lot of labor costs, with whatever is out there as a profit pool, your customers. That's where we're going to use. We still started already using AI. We just yesterday had a meeting with a well-known external consultant. They bring lots of brain power and ideas how to connect all these dots and make sure that our cars find the right customers, the right driver, the right place. That said, we're going to prove that only in 2027 when the real cars roll off the line. But before that, lots of work to do. That we're on the right way, show all the data that we got from the market so far. 2030 seems to be one of our, let's say, outlook posts. 2030, 30%, more than 30% of the market will be full-size pickup or mid-sized SUVs. More than 40% will be the pickups and the mid-sized SUV when it comes to the profit pools. So that means where is money earned in the American automotive business? That's literally the segments we're going to tap into with our cars. And more than 50% of the actual growth is predicted to happen in everything that's somehow electrified when it comes to cars. So literally what we set up is somehow tapping into the center point of the American market. It's not a secret that cars have been unveiled in Tennessee last year in October. They are very capable. The color actually is the same color of the last Scout that rolled off the line in 1981, Tahiti Red. And important to say that it's real rugged cars that can go out into the off-road and do literally everything that others predicted we can, and we will be able to do. We'll do it 100% electric, with electric drives. that are supplied from the Volkswagen Group, also something that helps us a lot. They have a lot of things on the shelf that are proven good in the latest technology. So that old brand merged with some backbone power, in this case coming from the group, and some latest technologies gets us to those wonderful cars. For those that are really interested in cars and are car enthusiasts, up to 35-inch tires, a ground clearance that is unmatched with the non-4x4 off-road cars that also get license plates and can drive on public roads. And we are 100% gradable, that means the car can literally go up 45 degrees plus. The second one, that's why I said it's about SUVs and pickup trucks, is even more powerful with regards to towing and all accessories that are needed in the outdoors or for the latest version of outdoor activities, that means tailgating, tenting, and enjoying nature. So it's not a secret, these two cars is the only thing that we have planned so far, but I think it's a good start considering the history that we have with the old cars. But as it's only two cars and we've learned about the market, we have literally one adventure to offer, electric, and two different versions, starting at around about $60,000 US. I think, and I'm not long enough in the US to really judge it, but I think quite competitive. For those that have more spending power, 105,000 is the current target for the high version, all that interior. So you can also spend more money if you want. But the most important thing is still to come. Yeah, I think Americans love gas in cars. The first question that we have to answer is when is the V8 available? Never. Unfortunately, never. Unfortunately, because I think I would also love to drive one. Maybe not own one, but to drive one. But with this one, with the range extender technology, and I don't want to go too much into details, but with the range extender technology, we literally put a 4-cylinder engine from the group. That means at no additional cost for us because it has been mainly developed already. In the rear end of the car, you can go and refuel wherever you want. That means it gives you one EV adventure, but with two different drivetrains. Either you go fully electric, 350 miles of range, approximately, or you choose to see your cashier at the fuel station whenever you want, and you go up to 500 miles of range. I think both very good options, and the second one that I just presented to you is for the group also so attractive that we are at the moment leading the development. We, as a Scout new company that is not around for more than 1.5 years, are literally leading the development, and we're pushing to have the range extender technology implemented in other group brands all across the world. So that's, I think, also a proof for whatever we have been setting up with mainly local talent, because we brought over only around 80 FSCs, foreign service employees here in Colombia, and we have another 40 in Detroit, where we have our tech center and our design offices. So that's that. Two nice cars, wonderful cars that have been designed, unveiled in October 2024 in Tennessee. We were very lucky with the weather up on a mountaintop in the nice Tennessee mountains. The cars and the prototypes have been going through thorough winter testing in Sweden, and we have been present in Las Vegas in the CES in January of this year. Just next week, the Terra, the pickup, is going to show up in Munich, where the International Auto Show is held in Germany again, and we will present the car to many internal sources and banks in Europe. Not because we want to enter the market, but we want to make publicity also for the group. To explain that a little bit further, the group, Volkswagen Group, is the owner of Scout at the moment because they're 100% invested into Scout. They are not running us as a brand like all the other brands. So Audi, Volkswagen, Lamborghini, Porsche has been taken public in the meantime. Bentley, for example, they are group brands. We are a group-owned brand, which is slightly different. That means we have still more independence here, and we are also aiming to have, even if it's only partially IPO in the next 2 years. So, but in the meantime, we've only been speaking about what was publicly known and seen in the whole years. The lower time span shows you that we have been starting working with South Carolina, with the government signing the contract for our actual production center, third pillar of the plan, in 2023. The groundbreaking was held early 2024, and the current pictures, still not up to date, is showing three main buildings, a utility center, all more or less waterproof, weathertight, and we aim for the factory being ready basically early next year. We move into the main building mid of next year. That said, the whole investment is around about $2 billion. That's what we officially announced. It goes a little bit more into some other activities, and to revive the whole brand, the Volkswagen Group is spending a multiple of the $2 billion. So now you can basically guess the importance of the brand, the importance of the market for the biggest automotive company in the world, the Volkswagen Group. That's happening literally in South Carolina at the moment, and right in the center of the Carolinas. The map, which everybody of you might know, is nothing special, but it shows, that's why I bring it up, because we look at it with automotive eyes. It shows 3 universities in the area. It shows, as I said before, not only for leisure, but also for business, beaches, mountains, energy, logistic, highways, railroad, and most importantly, it shows communities. Communities where we can draw from, where we can find at the moment around about 550 staffs in Colombia, another 500 in Dubai, in Thailand, and we're going to aim to have 900 indirect workers in the factory as of 2028, plus another up to 3,500 for the actual operations. That gives us the chance to create more than 4,000, 4,500 jobs in the area, plus the same amount for our suppliers. So the whole region, which I just said, is a map, as many others, will prosper a lot from what we're doing here at Scout. And I said also the suppliers, most of them will be in the US, 20% might be coming from Mexico, powerhouse for the automotive industry in the US anyway. Tariffs back and forth don't change that big picture at the moment. So the Carolinas will for sure prosper from what we're doing. That's how the site looks at the moment. It's huge, it's 1,300 acres. The factory is set up and built for 200,000 plus units. Depends a little bit on the weekend work that we put in. We have a full flexibility between the both drivetrains that I just showed you. So we can build either 100% electric only, or we can add the range extender to literally the same platform, which is still 100% electric drive, and the drive goes through the battery. So 100% flexibility, no matter what market or politics are going to decide. The next thing is the factory itself is very competitive with regards to the opportunities to add options to the cars. We also set up a so-called accessory center that gives us a chance, gives the customer a chance to basically specify the cars and build out in the last, I wouldn't say minute, it would be too challenging, but we're getting closer to the actual build date, so I think the customer will be able to make the last changes in the last 4 weeks. We're aiming for that. We're very cost efficient with the factory. Besides, it's pretty expensive to build in the US, compared with my experience in China, but I think that's the marketing. We're pretty cost effective when it comes to the process and the actual worker density that we're able to bring into the final processes. And we're also making sure that the factory is quite environmental friendly. It's a no gas factory, which is also, I think, first in the US. So the paint shop does have only electric heating and no more gas heaters. What's also important is that the whole factory is designed to be doubled in capacity. So actually already built into the layout is the option to mirror the main buildings and then go up to 400,000+ units a year. We still think there's enough capable labor and workforce available, but we're just starting the process. The first new hires come on board in October this year, mainly for maintenance because they need us to support the build up with the suppliers. The equipment is moving into the body shop just now as we speak. And maybe the most important funny figure, the governor mentioned it several times, we're moving literally 860,000 truckloads north to south because the whole site was on a steep, and that is why it's the biggest earth-moving project, or it was the biggest earth-moving project when we started in the US. Besides that, we need and we want to bring together the old world that just literally has been spoken about in the beginning, where the manufacturing and American manufacturing could actually create a living and so support a living. And we want to bring in the new world with our planning capabilities, the new technologies, and that will lead to 4,000 plus. We always call it 4,000 plus because that's part of the contract with the state. Well-paid jobs. Well-paid jobs means it's not the jobs that are here. We'll be going in a minute. This is jobs that come with benefits. We're going to set our own healthcare, our own childcare center. And sure, not our own Scout healthcare, but we do it together with some suppliers which are very well known and experienced. And we were going to come up with a community around the factory in the area that is, I think, unseen for automotive production. So we're not going to just set up another factory. We're going to create a production center that is part of the brand and is part of the brand's definition. That said, we're also going to aim for an experience center where we have direct delivery to customers, where you can take your car on a test drive. Some of you might know the G-Class from Mercedes. They do it in Austria, so-called Schöcke. It's quite an experience. I'm not saying that Bleiswood is going to prosper on tourism, but I think a lot of people will only come and want to see what we're doing and how the cars are actually performing. That's what you could do in this experience center. Very important, and that's why I want to point it out, the community has been alive for the last 65 years. The community of Scouts is where we draw from, and the community is what we are investing in and where we're investing in. So for us, the most important thing is we're not only creating a car, and that's what Scott always said, we're creating a connection machine. We're connecting people with nature, we're connecting people amongst each other, we're connecting the brand, what is out there, and we're creating a Scout community. So Bleiswood, I think, will be seen more often on the maps in the future. Maybe the dot will get a little bit bigger depending on the actual move in that's going to happen. And I think I want to close the whole thing with a 2-minute video that tells exactly that story, but in better words, and I think gets the main topics across that we as Scout are aiming for, and I think that we are going to achieve.
If America was going to take another shot, what would it look like? It would be a shot to contribute something enduring. It would no doubt take our 250 years of hands-on, hard-won experience and apply it fresh to something meaningful. It seems obvious that it would involve steel as well as the work of human hands. It's clear America's next shot would come from a factory. But this time, things would be different. The workers in that factory would have skin in the game, stakeholders. And the operation itself would respect both people and planet. This operation would produce something strong and smart, chock full of American ingenuity. But this shot would be a miss unless it resulted in something every single American could appreciate. And more than that, use. This something would be healthy. And it better damn well be fun. So it would be at Home Depot on a Tuesday morning or a Sunday afternoon. If America was going to take another shot, well, you know, it sure might look like a truck. One hell of a truck. One that is absolutely beloved, but hasn't been around in 40 years. One from a brand that helped feed, build, and defend America. One that would excite our possibilities again. One that would make certain that the values of yesterday would lead the charge into tomorrow. Starting today, America is taking that shot with that truck. It's called the Scout. to right wrongs, to carry forward our past, invigorate communities, lead with respect, and help realize the promise of a nation. It is America's next shot, and we do not intend to miss.
Said, and thanks very much for having me. Thanks for the support that we got. I've seen that even some of our big supporters from Colombia made it up here today. And now let's have a little conversation on what we could do better and how we can be successful together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Oliver. I am holding on to my EV until your Scout comes on the line, and that's when I'm replacing it. It's awesome. Thank you so much. I'm Genevieve Pichet. I'm on the board of the World Affairs Council, and I've made my career in the last 5 years in sustainability. So I will be managing the Q&A today. So I will start with one for you, and then please raise your hands, and I will come to you. So maybe just an icebreaker. Can you talk a little bit about your supply chain strategy around batteries and the acquisition of critical minerals?
You started the most difficult question. The supply chain for batteries is, I think, the most critical thing for everybody at the moment. We've been talking about resources before, and actually the battery is the heart at the core of the whole EV thing in the end. Our batteries will come from the group, the cells will come from the group, and everything besides that will be assembled in the supplier park locally next to Blythswood. It means the actual battery pack really only comes to life 500 yards from where we're going to produce the car. But that's it. It's a long way from probably Europe in the beginning, closer to USA later. I'm still guessing it might be Canada where the actual cells come from. And we're going to bring the whole thing together in Blythswood. That's what it is, yeah.
Thank you. Right here.
Thank you. I am Kathleen Evans, and I work for the young 150-year-old AT&T. Right? So thank you for being here. Thank you to Zeitgeist Foundation as well as World Affairs Council. So I go through Columbia a bit, right? I drive that I-77 south. So on the southbound side or the west side of the highway, there's a lot of construction. There's a brand new interchange happening kind of in the Blythwood area. Something massive appears to me going in there. Is that Scout? And when do you plan to roll them off the line?
When you talk massive, then probably it's Scout, yeah. It's 1,300 acres. We've just the team in Richland County has just been taking down all the trees so that you can see what we're doing. The only building that you might see from the highway is the training center that belongs to the state and is run then for Scout only in the beginning. So that means we get training from the state, and behind the training center, if you're looking a little bit further, that's then the factory. Yeah, that's us. We're going to get another exit, number 26, that brings then around about 1,500 workers to us. And we also, what you should see now is the new train bridge that has been set up. So we also get train connections to bring in the bigger parts and to get out most of the cars in the end. Yep, that's all.
Hey, my name is Christopher Snakesby. I've been in manufacturing for many, many years. First of all, thank you for coming and sharing all this exciting news about the project. Is the plan to mainly have assembly in Blythswood, or are you also going to be manufacturing parts? And if not, will you be using local suppliers, or where are all the parts of the car being made?
Well, it's a full-fledged operation. We do not have a press shop. We said we aren't going to start with a press shop right away. That would put too much, let's say, complexity in our startup operation. But besides that, we're going to have body shop, paint, and assembly. And as I just mentioned, also supplier part, where we have chip suppliers coming in, where we have the battery supply, the battery pack supply, and we also have the accessory center where we're going to accessorize more than 50% of the cars as we expect from now. So it's a full-fledged car factory that we're producing 200 and plus thousand cars a year. Yeah.
Hi, Oliver. Thank you so much for being here today. It's such an honor to be able to hear about the work scholars doing all over the country and the world. My name is Omari Emmanuel. I'm an international student from Ghana, and I'm a senior at Queen's studying data analytics with a business concentration. You talked about how the different business units like manufacturing and packaging has deployed the use of AI and Scala. I'm mostly curious to know, given it being a very new emerging technology, how the business transformation took place. Did you have to repurpose some skills of some workforce? Did you have to take them to training? I'm also curious to know navigating the compliance behind deploying AI, especially in manufacturing as well. Thank you.
Well, actually, we are pretty lucky because, as I said, we're just hiring now. So most of the companies have the problem when they want to introduce AI, they need to rethink all their processes, and most of the time come to the conclusion that, well, we have a heck of a lot of people around that we would not need anymore, or that we need to either qualify different ways. So we're starting from scratch. We're bringing the technology from the beginning, and we make sure that we're only hiring the profiles and the amount of people that we really need for that way of doing business. On the other hand, I'm very honest, we just had two very smart interns working for the manufacturing department during this summer internship period, and they were, I think, first time in my life, interns that brought more knowledge to the company than we actually taught them. So it's quite interesting, especially with the UC having next door to us, to tap into that new field of business. Do we already know everything that we need to set up with regards to AI and new technologies? No, for sure not. But we're trying, we're failing, we're trying again, and we come up with a system where we use AI wherever it makes sense and where it puts real value to our business. In manufacturing, for example, we had Spot, the four-legged robot dog, walking the shop floor, and we're just trying out to use those guys to have been to be able to do maintenance work. That means they're checking actually with the PLCs of the robots, the stations with the equipment, on status, on temperature, on vibration, you name it, and feedback directly, or in emergency cases, can even shut down the machinery if necessary. So lots of new ideas. Not sure if all come to life for the first car. I disclose it towards the end of 27 for the first car, but definitely a field we need to tap into for the future.
Good afternoon. My name is Destiny Crawford. I work at Central Piedmont Community College. I'm a history faculty member, but I primarily work in workforce and career development. So that is what my question is going to be geared towards. I was wondering if you all intend to have opportunities for advancement in the workplace. Primarily, would someone be able to go from production and move beyond that?
Definitely. We're just now defining all those different paths, and we're also defining the different pay levels, we're defining the structures, and we're definitely offering development of careers, because for sure, an hourly worker as an operator on the line will not become the manager of the whole factory, for sure not. But they can become the team lead, they become the supervisor. Supervisors can become the team shift leads, and that even would maybe qualify them for being production manager at a certain point in time, if all comes together and it works out well. But for the indirect workers, we are hiring at the moment mainly associates and specialists. Those will then refill manager positions. So there's a lot of ways how you can literally work in one company for more than 2 years. So it's not about just go find the next new OEM for you or the next new job position. It's stay within Scout, develop within Scout, and work according to the certain core principles of the Scout way.
Thank you, Oliver, for speaking today. I'm Scott Atkins with Siemens. We are a part of your project in the construction phase of it. Proud to be a part of it. One of the questions I had is that you were taking a new approach to how you sell your vehicles, you sell them in direct. I was wondering if you could speak about how you're progressing in getting the laws changed to do that, and what your projection is for production.
Okay, thanks for the question. Fair enough to say that you're not only a partner in the Scout project, we've been partnering in the last four factories that I've been setting up because Siemens is all over the place with their competencies. And to your question, yes, we aim for a direct sale approach because we still think and believe that we should better know what our customers want. And the only way to do that is to have direct contact to your customer. We have been setting up sales licenses in enough states to do whatever we have planned. We're now trying to add a few more because it makes sense from the efficiency of the sales process to add more than that. And I won't speak to the actual discussions that are ongoing in certain states because that's something that is momentarily handled with our legal department. But we feel very confident, and we just now, as I speak, have a delegation back home in Germany talking to the board members of the Volkswagen Group about the approach and make sure that we have enough competent personnel on board to be, let's say, the bridge between whatever we offline in our factory and what the customer expects with regards to quality, options, and value proposition of the car. So, yeah, we're aiming for direct sales model, and I think we're good to go. At least that's everything that we have set up and discussed so far.
Hey, thank you for sharing those insights with us. I'm Chris Oliver, working with Heralded Automotive, and we are a supplier for a couple of Volkswagen brands already, and now also in touch with your purchasing team. And you elaborated in your presentation that a Volkswagen brand is different from a Volkswagen-owned brand, and I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on the differences there. For example, what is decided in Germany, in Wolfsburg particularly, and what can you decide here in the US? How much more freedom do you have compared to other Volkswagen brands?
I think it would be a day or week-long discussion to answer that in full, but basically, the idea is we are 100% invested through Volkswagen. We are the Volkswagen investment for Luxembourg. That gives us direct access with regards to reporting into the Volkswagen Group's board. We still try to use as much and leverage as much of the competencies and for sure the economies of scale that the group provides. We're tapping into those sources when it comes to battery cells, I mentioned it before, when it comes to the electric motors and other parts, for example, ECUs, the control units, some of the control units that we would also reuse. We go through our own decision boards with regards to what are we going to buy from whom are we going to nominate, at what cost. So there's a separate entity that works together closely with the group but makes individual decisions. We have to do it that way because we're fully 100% US company. And that is what makes us different from, for example, an approach that Audi takes, which goes to the Audi group of America. As I said, it would take hours to go into all the details, but we can make all the decisions that are necessary to control our business within our group, within our Scout Group board. We don't need to go back for all the decisions that other brands need to take in Germany in this case.
Hello, Oliver. My name is Bill Smith. I'm with CD International. And thanks so much for your insightful presentation. I'm curious if, clearly the brand Scout is being positioned for the American market, which I'm sure holds much potential. But do you see much export potential? You know, when we go down to Charleston and we see the BMWs lined up, you know, that are ready for export, made in South Carolina. What does that look like? Or, you know?
Good question, but I have to be very honest. The first approach is already quite challenging to build cars only for the US and Canada. That said, there are certain other markets, looking into the European states, for example, but most of the European markets and others, the cars just literally not fitting. It's too big, it's too bulky, and it's not what is expected from a car in those markets. So the factory is ready. Once we're ready to build cars, it's also ready to handle the complexity of international markets. Our sales and marketing team aims for other markets, but so far the decision has not been made to go further than Canada and US. I think the brand has potential, as you said. And we're not limited like other brands, considering Mini, for example, or would you come up with a truck under the brand name Mini? So Scout has, I think, some options that we can still tap into. But you need to tell a constant and sustainable story for brand development, and that's maybe the next step.
Oliver, thank you for coming in and talking with us, and especially for letting us ask questions. My name is Matt Smith. I'm the Associate Dean of Transportation at Central Piedmont Community College. My team deals with training the technicians that repair the vehicles. So at Scout, it sounds like you guys are using a lot of the Volkswagen technology that's already in production, but you're using it in an interesting way. Do you have plans to do technician-specific trainings and hire technicians to repair these?
We do that, and I already pointed out the universities on the map, but we're working with local colleges. We're working with Midlands Tech College, for example. They're creating special programs for us to train our, at the moment, rework team for the assembly, but they're also coming up with, let's say, reshaped, contents for their programs that they're offering. So yes, we're teaming up with everything that's available locally, whether it's colleges, universities, or anybody else that provides support. Ready SC is doing the hiring and selection for us, pre-selection, and also the involved in the training. So we can't do that by ourselves. You cannot train 4,000 people, but you can make sure that you set the standards and you control the standards, and that's what we're doing now.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Natasha Dawkins. I'm an international student from Jamaica at Queen's University of Charlotte. I am pursuing my master's in communications. So I actually have 3 questions for you. The first one is, currently, do you have an in-house marketing department or do you outsource for marketing? And then my second question is, what would you say is the unique selling point for Scout now? What are you utilizing as the unique selling point in the United States? And then my third question, my third question is around your target audience, right? So in terms of your marketing strategies, what would you say is the strongest marketing strategy now that gives you, I guess, the best ROI?
First question is maybe the easiest to answer, because yes, we are having and we're using our own marketing expertise. We have an in-house marketing department, but for sure, for events like, for example, the Tennessee Review, we're working with external agencies that help us set up the whole thing and make sure that wherever we go, whether it's in Tennessee or just now in New York next week, the week after, we're going to come across as one brand with the same standards. What is our unique selling proposition? And I think one that is not the only one, but a very special one, is that, and I've experienced it just here in the discussions and conversations that I had, that is the community. That is that Scout has been around 65 years ago, that there are still vivid collectors out there, that I think literally every second person I'm talking to is either, I had one, my parents had one, my grandparents had one. I remember in my childhood when I was driving it, when I was picked up from school with one. And that is something that you can't replace and that you can't create with a new brand and not with another brand. That's Scout, and that's the community, and that is the values that we are creating our products around. That's the one important thing. The second, and I just briefly showed you the cars are capable, and they will be doing what we are promising at the moment. They're going to go for 350 miles on one charge. You're going to go up to 500 miles when you refuel in between with the range extender on board. That means you're basically charging the battery while you're driving. You can tow, important thing when you go out with your pickup, and the cars are capable of going literally everywhere. And that is, I think, a difference, speaking very specifically about others out there. For example, the Rivian, which is not built as a rugged one with a leather frame, is built like a nice looking pickup, and it's a wonderful car. I love the interior, I'm very honest, but it's more built for the big cities, the urban roads, and you would see it rather in LA and not out in the fields. That's where we are, both customer groups, and that's actually where the profit pool is at the moment. Pickups and SUVs.
Hi, I was told this is the last question, so thank you very much. My name is Johan. No, I just have one.
And it's a little bit related to what you were talking about. So it seems like the biggest difference between the old Scout and the new Scout is the EV. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about the thinking that went into making it an EV this time, and maybe it is a two-part question. I've been on the market for an EV myself, and all the dealerships are contacting me in a panic about the tax credits expiring, telling me, I need to make my purchase right now. But all jokes aside, obviously there are some political uncertainties regarding EVs, and so I'm wondering, how are you thinking about that in light of the decision to make it only an EV?
Well, Germans are known for direct answers, and if your dealers are calling you these days, you could question whether they were able to give away their dealer margin and exchange it with actual subsidies that have been just taken away. Because that's literally somehow the amount. I hope we have done it to many car dealers in the room today, but that's what the math is behind. So I think EV is definitely something that will be around in the next 10, 20 years. We could say next 50 years, but that's just crystal balling. It's definitely important to have those EVs, first of all, because wherever you're going to use them, you don't have any of the nasty exhaust gases that the others will leave wherever they go. So that said, EVs are good technology in general. It comes with a different use pattern, but I think whoever has used a mobile phone for the last 10 years is in the meantime also used to charging and using that thing in a normal daily routine. So I think the same will happen to EVs. And the next big thing about EVs is they are really fun to drive. They're powerful, the torque is great, and they are smart when you really want to tap into the support that they give you, because you can control both drivetrain and the technology behind. So that's it. I think EV is the way to go at the moment. Political back and forth, you will always have support for the one or the other. We definitely think at least it has to be part of the game, and whether it's then going to be the only available powertrain in the next 10 or 20 years, this, I don't know. But I'm assuming we have enough customers out there that will love it and enjoy it. And it's an option. If it's only an option, it's going to be a good and a big option. Okay? That's what it is.